There is carnage on Wall Street, with shares of the major financial stocks plummeting. It's triggering a major sell-off in the markets. The damage, widespread.
Nasdaq's plunging, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is plunging, and oil is plunging.
That this is shaping up to be the worst real estate market in a generation.
We are now at the highest point there, 724. That was the biggest loss we've seen today. That is, we are now in historic territory.
What up, Profiteers? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about wealth and wealth management. How to build wealth, especially if you're approaching retirement like me in about a decade and a half. You want to be ready for retirement. So we're going to talk today about what it means to be rich, what it means to be wealthy, and how to grow and build wealth in the 21st century. Stay tuned.
Oh, this is my day. I'm ready to take it on, come what may.
But no matter how much money you make, you'll never be rich.
See, that's what you never got, kid. It's not about the money. It's about the game between people. And that's all it is.
So that clip was taken from a movie called Wall Street Money Never Sleeps. Wall Street 2 Money Never Sleeps. And we don't always get the best information or the most accurate information from Hollywood, but sometimes there are nuggets, and this is one of these phrases, memorable phrases from this movie that I've always remembered. It's not about the money, it's about the game between people, right? Another favorite nugget from that movie was said by the same actors, right? The same lead actor, that it's about time, right? Life is not really about amassing money, it's about acquiring time. And that's how kids, for example, might give you access to time in future. But let's talk about wealth, let's talk about money, and let's talk about how can you build wealth in the context of Guyana. You know, now we're now an oil producing country and we have a new government, and they're flailing at trying to get a grasp of the immense wealth that is about to befall this nation. But I have for you a list of 21 companies in my portfolio that will tell you how I'm approaching this whole idea of building wealth in the 21st century. Stay tuned. What's happening with wealth management in your life, and how are you building and growing and saving wealth for the 21st century, in the 21st century? So let me go through the three main ways in which people, especially people in North America, have been encouraged to build and to grow wealth. The first thing is that people are encouraged to buy a house, right? So you buy a house, basically you get a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, and you hope to pay it off by the time you retire, and hopefully you'll be able to reverse that mortgage or sell that house, move into a smaller house, and live on the difference, right? So people still try to save for retirement by buying a house or paying a mortgage over a lifetime. The other way is they try to get a job that offers a pension or retirement savings. That's becoming more and more difficult in the 21st century, but retirement savings and pension, which usually involves the stock market, is the second way in which people save for retirement. Problem, of course, with that is the stock market goes up, the stock market comes down, because what goes up must come down. Right now, the American stock market is being propped up by the US government putting taxpayer money into the market to prop it up in a process they're calling, using a fancy term, quantitative easing. Of course, this is just a way to print money and to artificially prop up the stock market. But what goes up will come down, and you can be certain that those of you who've invested in the stock market makes you feel good while the market is high, but there's going to be a day of reckoning in future when the market will come down, because that's how the market works, right? Thirdly, there are those who depend on Social Security. In other words, the government will eventually return some of the taxes you've paid over the lifetime of working in the form of a monthly Social Security check if you are a citizen of the United States or a country with Social Security. right? There's some countries that don't have social securities, countries like China and some of the less developed countries where that is not even an option, right? There's some other smaller ways, of course. People in Guyana and places in third world countries, people invest in their children because they figured, well, when I'm old and I'm no longer able to work, my children are going to support me. Or any number of other ways, right? You try to buy gold, or you try to buy some property that you can rent out and, you know, sort of live off of the rent, right? So this is the traditional ways in less developed countries where people are using old traditional methods to save for retirement. I am offering you my 21st century idea, and I think what you need to do in the 21st century is you need to invest in people. So I've come up with a way to invest for the 21st century and to invest for retirement that can scale exponentially, and that is to invest in people by building companies. And this is where I'm going to reveal to you the Lisa group of companies. The Lisa group of companies is a group of companies I've been working on for a number of years to bring to market and to allow people to invest and to grow their wealth in, while they address some of the current problems in the 21st century. I'm going to put a link to it here, link to the website. I'm actually now building out the websites for these companies. I remember, if you remember, previously I published a couple of videos where I addressed my 10 billionaire companies ideas. Now this has actually grown into 21 companies, and I'm now building out the websites and building out the companies. I'll put the website link here. You can look it up and you can see, in fact, if any of this kind of investment strategy for the future is right for you. But the idea is, for the 21st century, we need new ways, new innovative ways to build and to store wealth. And one of the ways to do that is, in fact, to invest in people. And the way to invest in people is to invest in companies, build new companies. And so that is what I'm doing with this group of companies called the Lisa R&D group of companies. So I'm going to explain each of those companies individually. I'm going to pull them out and explain the details of how they work in future videos. And I'm going to address the business models in the website, right? So those of you who are really interested in investing in these companies will be able to go online, log in, open an account, and be able to get insider information on how these companies are doing financially, what are the financials of the company. But let me address the final issue about wealth in the 21st century, and that is to deal with Guyana. So this new government has come in anxious to get its hands on the oil wealth in Guyana, but there are a number of complications that they are overlooking, right? And I'm going to leave the details of my assessment of the first 100 days of this government for a future video, but I've already made some comments on social media. Those who follow me on social media already know how I feel about this. But let me just address this one issue about how this government is handling Guyanese wealth. The first thing they've done is they started to fire left, right, and center everybody. So the new government of Guyana has decided that they're going to fire all of their political opponents, and they're going to prosecute or persecute anybody who disagrees with them. And then they're going to try to review all the contracts with ExxonMobil and try to get on the inside of all of the people who have gained property, you know, like who acquired concessions, the oil concessions, and they're going to remove the oil and gas minister, and they're going to remove the energy department head and all this stuff. Oil is a volatile commodity, and its future is finite, right? There is an end point in sight, and what we have seen so far is a kind of ineptitude, a lack of understanding that oil is really not the future, the long-term future of Guyana, but the people of Guyana and industry in Guyana and building companies in Guyana, that is the future. And this government doesn't seem to understand that, right? And so what I'm explaining here is the first indication of a old idea, the 20th century view of how to handle wealth. And that is, you get in there and you grab it and you hold on to it for yourself and your family. That is not going to work in 21st century. And you can see that in the behavior of the current government, you know, the way they flooded the land to get people off the land, squatters on taxpayers' land. They used irrigation pumps to flood the land to get people off the land so that they could put money into sugar, the sugar industry. The sugar industry is dead. We're not going to be able to resurrect the sugar industry. It's not the source of wealth for Guyana. Oil and gas is an important source of wealth to invest in infrastructure in Guyana, but it's not the kind of wealth that will last without proper management and without securing it, right? And so if you antagonize, or if you don't understand how to deal with oil and gas wealth, we will end up in a few years just as bad or worse off than we are today, right? Now that's my idea, that's my assessment of what's happening in Guyana as far as the government mismanaging our wealth. What I've decided to do is to take matters into my own hands and to build companies that will secure wealth for the 21st century. And in future videos, I'll explain to you why I'm taking this course of action and what exactly these companies are doing. But remember, you can look online now. There's a link. There's a website that will give you direct information on all of the companies that I've been talking about and I've talked about in the future in all my past videos, and you'll be able to follow in real time, or at least near real time, the progress with these companies that I've been talking about over the past several months to a year or 2 years. Anyway guys, let me know what your wealth strategy is, how you're handling the challenge of building and growing wealth for you and your family and your generations for the 21st century and beyond. And let me know what you think about the approach that I'm taking here with building these 21 companies, and whether you'd be interested in investing in these companies. Remember, you can share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening in Georgetown, Guyana. Later!